Hello and welcome back, guys, to One Piece Chapter 1019. We are back after a week-long break. There's another week break next week because of the Olympics, but we are here and Oda is doing what he does best, and he is blue-balling us with a huge cliffhanger. But before we start talking about Yamato and her potential Devil Fruit, we're going to tackle this chronologically. We'll start from the beginning, and then we will work our way towards the end. So, we start the chapter, I opened that shit up, and I saw Sanji and Queen, and I was hyped, dude. I was like, yo, we're gonna get some Sanji feats. We might even get a little bit of their fight mixed in with this chapter. Not the case. We got two panels, and then we moved right past them. But those two panels are very telling. Queen, in his hybrid form, it looks like he's giving some serious effort. Well, he looks like he's having fun too, but it does look like he's giving some effort into his laser beams. And then you have Sanji, who's just kind of like smiling. He's kind of chatting amongst himself. He's like, oh, dude, Franky would love to see this technology here, man. Wow. It's kind of funny because when I first realized that Queen was like part robot in the beginning of Wano, I was like, oh, dude, I wonder if we're gonna see like a tag team matchup between somebody else and Franky. But not the case, and it's funny that Sanji actually mentioned that. He's like, wow, like, you know what? You guys would have got along quite well. But regardless, even a minor W for Sanji is a giant W for me, man. I'll fucking take it. Sanji fans, unite. We need to give this man some feats, mainly because with Yamato putting it out there, with Jinbei going beast mode and Zoro going ham on the rooftop, we need Sanji to step up to the plate. Because at this point, I'm looking at the comments and people are honestly wondering, is Sanji still going to be part of the monster trio once Wano is said and done? With Yamato joining and with Jinbei officially being ranked among the Straw Hats, where is Sanji gonna sit? And in my heart, dude, being with One Piece from the beginning, I've always had this notion. It's like, oh, dude, you got Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, and it's been like that for years now, years. And now with new members joining, with the new world here and people getting stronger and stronger, it's like, does he still contest that? Like, can he still claim that spot of the third strongest of the Straw Hats? So, with that being said, I really hope he does pull off some crazy shit later. I say this every chapter, man. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I'm always egging for Sanji to do something crazy, and I'm still egging for it. So, moving on before I get too lost in the sauce, we have Zoro, and he's kind of freaking out because Dr. Miyagi is sawing through his cask, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. If you are mummified, you can't move, and they can't really tell where your body is in a giant mummified corpse, and they're sawing it through. It's like, whoa, you better chill there. Like, I need to get back to the battlefield, but can you not cut me up first? I'm the swordsman here, not you. So he's freaking out, understandably. People were kind of speculating, like, oh, why is he freaking out? Like, what's underneath that cask? Is he evolving? No, the guy's just afraid of needles, and he's afraid of saws. I don't blame him. I'm the exact same way. Moving on, we have Law's crew fully resuscitating Luffy. They got all the water out, and in classic Luffy fashion, when he's most injured, all he yells for is meat. Like any good shonen protagonist, instead of resting, instead of medicine, instead of doctor support, all he needs to do to get better is to get a hearty-ass meal. And with that being said, I wonder if Oda will actually give us the hearty meal we're looking for, because I really doubt the Heart Pirates in their small yellow submarine will have a giant stash of food and meat that Luffy can just consume at a moment's notice and be a-okay. Because if you remember, whenever he fights somebody this big and he needs to recover by eating, he eats a lot of food. And I really doubt that submarine will have enough food to satisfy Luffy. And with that being said, if Oda doesn't give us the food from the submarine, where is he gonna pull it from? Because they're currently at the outskirts of Wano, and we know that all the food in Wano, or at least in the outskirts of Wano, it's all poisonous, it's all leftovers, it's just inedible. So I wonder if this is Luffy's excuse to go to the Fire Festival, and he'll go there, he'll gather the support of the Wano citizens, they'll feed him, and then boom, Kaido drops Onigashima on Wano, and that's where they meet again. That's gonna be my guess. I hope Oda goes that route, because the whole food scarcity of Wano was big in the first couple chapters, and then they kind of ignored it for a little bit. So bringing it back and tying it to Luffy's need for food would be pretty damn cool. So moving on to the meat of the chapter, we have Franky versus Sasaki. And I gotta admit, man, this fight was way more hype than I was expecting. Franky's last fight was against Senor Pink. Senor Pink was a really cool character, but his fight was very underwhelming in my opinion. And the reason why is because it boiled down to just haymakers, throwing fists, doing body slams. And while that's cool, I feel like Franky and his entire tool set wasn't really well utilized to fighting him. I mean, at the end of the day, he won, and, you know, Franky is the bigger guy of the Straw Hats, but I feel like he never got to use any of his crazy technologies. And in this chapter, he does. He gets to use General Franky. He uses his radical beam to finish that shit off. And it's just like, wow, this was almost made for Franky. In the beginning of the fight, they actually suck each other off and they say, yo, like, your body's kind of tough. You know what? That suit is pretty fire, man. Like, that's some crazy ass steel you got going on there. Speaking of steel, though, Sasaki draws his sword, and I was like, oh, it's a normal ass sword. Oh, wait, it has razor blades taped to the sides of it. And then all of a sudden, it starts spinning like a drill. And it's cool, but I'm also like, why doesn't he just get an actual drill at that point? Like, you're just mimicking a drill by having a sword. I don't know. It's goofy, it works, and if you try to put logic behind it, it's not gonna work either. But, and then I scroll down. I scroll down and I see his frills. You know, he's in his hybrid form. He has his Triceratops frills. And then they start rotating. They start spinning at a high velocity where he actually can fly. He starts flying during this fight. And I was just like, you know what? We never got to see dinosaurs before. Maybe they all actually flew. Maybe Oda went back in time and was like, you know what? Nobody knows the truth of Triceratops. They can actually all fly with their little frills and their spikes. We just don't know it. We never got to see them in real life. Have you? So Sasaki flies up in the air and you get a really cool shot of him. And my favorite part about this is you get to see the V scar that Franky left on him 30 chapters ago. And what I love about this is that it's going to be a recurring thing. Like, he's not going to lose that scar. It's there with him for life. So imagine like 2 time skips down the road. Luffy is the Pirate King. Franky is part of the Pirate King's crew. Sasaki is sitting at a bar and somebody's like, yo, Sasaki, you're such a tough ass dude. How did you get that scar? Who gave that to you? And he's like, oh, you know what? It was General Franky of the Pirate King's crew. And that guy was a real tough son of a bitch. You know how awesome that would be? Like, that's such a cool story. If you were a villain in One Piece and you lost to the Straw Hats, it would make me feel proud that I lost to at least the strongest people out there. And that's a story Sasaki gets to tell because he definitely takes an L in this chapter. So moving on with the fight, Sasaki starts using his neck to propel himself towards people while using his sword as a chainsaw, mowing everybody down in sight except for Franky, of course. Franky's armor is too tough, so he decides to take a different approach. He actually stops and he starts propelling himself, and I'm like, oh snaps, he's gonna use himself like a drill. Not the case. He actually goes backwards first, and then he pretends like it's on purpose to get that extra velocity, and then he propels himself towards Franky. Franky tries to block it with his left arm. His arm ends up exploding from what it seems like. And here is what I would say is my favorite part of the chapter. Franky grabs the man and gives him a suplex. Dude, I was getting major Senior Pink vibes from this. Like, you cannot tell me that he was not inspired by the man, the myth, the legend himself to use that move. And this is pretty hype because I'm starting to think that every opponent that Franky beats, he's gonna steal an ability from them. Like, I can imagine in Franky's next one-on-one fight, he's gonna look at him. He's gonna be in General Franky mode or just base form Franky, and then his neck is gonna just engage these propellers and he's gonna start flying. I can see it happening. He's gonna start flying and boom, tributes to Sasaki, tributes to Senior Pink. Every enemy, Franky gets stronger. So after that, he decides to use the V-slash again. Sasaki dodges it. The reason he decided to use it because he noticed a scar that I'm surprised he didn't notice that earlier. Doesn't work, it misses. And then that is when Sasaki jumps up into the sky, starts coming down. Franky tries to shoot him out of the air. Doesn't work because Sasaki has a dinosaur body. He has a dad bod. He's too strong. And then boom, he comes down and Franky shoots him with a radical beam after escaping from General Franky. I love that the radical beam is what actually pierces him through. He realizes that the stomach is actually his weakness. His dad bod and his lack of working out his core and abs was his eventual downfall. So one small critique about the fight, if anything, just has to be the fact that I wish Franky didn't have to rely on General Franky for like 99% of the fight. I understand why he did. Sasaki is this giant durable dinosaur, so we needed a giant durable mecha dinosaur to fight him off. Not really a dinosaur, but you know what I mean. He needed General Franky to stave off Sasaki's attacks, so it makes sense. But in the future, I wish that Franky comes up with a way to make his body as durable as General Franky, but he still has the mobility and the damage output as base Franky, because it's base Franky at the end of the day that finishes, or that lands the finishing blow on Sasaki. Or another theory I like is Franky fully automating General Franky, so there's literally two of them. Imagine this, Kuma-like General Franky on the ship, just kind of doing its own thing, not kind of minding its own business, and then once Franky fights, boom, 2-on-1. So moving on to the final part of the chapter, we have the Yamato and Kaido fight. And dude, they're clashing kanabos, they're both being flung back a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is so awesome, how's it happening? And that is when Kaido starts talking about a devil fruit. And to everybody that has been saying that Yamato has a devil fruit, that he has a mythical devil fruit, kudos to you. I don't know how you guessed it, but you guessed it. I guess it makes sense because Kaido is the 100 Beasts, and then they're the Beast Pirates, and they have all Zoan fruits. It makes sense. But regardless, like, dude, how did you guys guess this? And now that we guessed that Yamato has a devil fruit and we get to see it in person, we get to see the face of it, we get to see his body, what is he? The biggest question. There's also another question of how did Kaido get this fruit and why was he saving it and who was he saving it for, but we don't really know. We just know that he had this fruit lying around. It took a lot of trouble getting it. We don't know why he got it. Maybe he was saving it for a special occasion. Maybe this fruit has a special ability, like how Law's Opi Opi no Mi can perform an immortality surgery. Maybe this can do something slightly different from that. But regardless, Yamato's devil fruit, it has horns, it has pointy ears, it has crazy hair. It looks like it has like some fire type hair, actually. I don't really know how to explain that one. And it has long, slanky arms. It has kind of a snout. I just don't know what this is. I look at the comments thinking that somebody would know. And I hear Kirin, which I'm like, okay, it has the horns, it has the ears, doesn't really have the nose. It could explain the hair, possibly. It doesn't explain the teeth. And then people have said Hakutaku, and I was like, oh, it has like an ox, it has the horns, it has nothing else from that. And then I heard Byakko, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's like a Japanese white tiger, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. But Yamato looks nothing like a Byakko. I just gotta say it right here and now. The hair matches, everything else just doesn't. And then that's when I heard Raiju, and I was like, oh, okay, another fox dog thing. So we have this lightning dog. It has the horns, and I guess it could have the mane, but it doesn't really explain anything. I just don't get it. Honestly, if Devon didn't have the nine-tailed fox devil fruit, I would hands down say that Yamato has the nine-tailed fox devil fruit, but that's not the case. So now we're kind of left just guessing. And the thing is that since Oda didn't give us a little box saying what it is, we're not gonna know. Even with the best guesses out there, we will not really know, because this is Yamato's hybrid form. In hybrid form, they have human characteristics. It's kind of warped a little bit. We know that hybrid forms can change their body, like how Sasaki did that crazy propeller, how Kaku turned into a square giraffe. Literally, hybrid forms don't really resemble the animals all too much. But until Oda does give us a dialogue box saying what Yamato actually is, we're just kind of taking shots in the dark. So Kirin, in my opinion, is kind of what Yamato looks closest to, minus the horse features and the dragon scales, of course. But I do see the argument for Byakko, mainly because Yamato does have a white-haired color design, and it would make the most sense, color-wise, to make Yamato a Byakko. But other than that, dude, we have no clue. Until we get a full design, or until Kaido or Oda decides to drop us that giant hint, we're just kind of taking shots in the dark. So anyways, guys, what do you think about the chapter? Let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear your opinions. Thank you for watching up until this point. And yeah, we have a break next week. So until then, I'm going to make a video next week talking about Luffy's Devil Fruit Awakening and what that might look like. So if you guys have any theories on that, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.